Love that.
All right, everybody. Good morning. This is Seychelle Van Poole with Keller Williams, and I am so honored to have a very special guest with us here today. We have Jonathan Cook with the Jonathan Cook team of Keller Williams, and he is in the Arlington Market Center. And he is amazing and growing like gangbusters. And I'm really excited to have him on the call because he just had his 4th anniversary with KW, and he's already sold 500 houses. So we're going to get into detail today about what he's doing, how he's growing, and how his business is, and the things that are important to him about growing business and growing a big life. Jonathan, welcome.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much, Seychelle, for putting together this call and working so tirelessly every month to be consistent with it. It brings great value to my business, and I know I'm not alone. So to be asked to be on the call is a great honor today. So I just want to thank you before we get started for that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thrilled to have you on. And I'd love for us to start today by talking a little bit about how you got into the real estate business. You've been in now just 4 short or 4 long years, however you want to think about it. I'm sure by the day it depends. But talk to us about what made you decide to get into the real estate business.
Should we poll the audience on whether real estate years are long or short?
Yeah. Some days I feel like they're dog years, and other days they fly by.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So my journey starts back in 2008, and actually in 2004 with real estate. I did not get into the business in 2004, but I met a man who would come into my life and would turn out to be one of my defining moments and defining relationships. And we can all kind of lead back to things that will point to times in our life where we almost didn't make that decision, and because we did, took us on a direct trajectory that changed our life. And so back in 2004, I met a friend who I will share the name in just a moment. And we were college age punk rock musicians, writing music, chasing a dream of being international pop stars at Dallas Baptist University. And so I grew up in Burleson and went to college on a golf scholarship, and I was chasing the PGA Tour dream, kind of minding my own business, playing golf in college. I was the captain of my freshman golf team, and I thought that, that was going to lead to a semi-professional or a professional golf career, and I was going to tour the world as a professional golfer. Well, in 2004, I was also in a band and kind of on the side as a hobby, and we go to record a little 3-song EP at a studio owned by a gentleman who's now a great friend of mine named Dennis Tuttle. And so as we pop into this music studio to record a 3-song album in 2004, I didn't know my life would change.
Yeah.
And sitting on the desk there, as we walk into this studio owned by Dennis Tuttle and run by one of his best friends, Jeff Rockwell at the time, who Dennis was also in a band. So they were kind of doing the same thing in the local music scene of Dallas-Fort Worth. And on the desk there was a Robert Kiyosaki book, thinking Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I was also majoring in finance, so I'm a numbers and business guy, and then I was minoring in real estate investing. Well, here we go.
Yeah,
so, here we go. So walk into the studio and I see this book sitting on the desk, and I'm like, who is this guy? He's also a punk rock musician, and he's also into real estate investing. And so that's where this 13-year friendship started with Dennis and I. And so
I love it.
What's funny about that is that we recorded that album. We put one song online over the Christmas holiday. Matter of fact, it was really close to this time of year that we recorded. We had the song done by about December 21st. We put the first song online, and we got Sony, Warner Brothers, Jimmy Iovine, Universal Records, Tooth and Nail Records, every one of them. I was actually at a Christian youth conference over New Year's. I had every one of those labels calling my personal cell phone saying, we heard this song you put online. We've got to meet with you. We've got to fly you out. You've got a showcase for our record label. I will make a long story short. We ended up signing with Universal Records. My band, Forever the Sickest Kids, is still together, although that's no longer my focus. But all throughout my career, Dennis Tuttle would say, if you ever need an exit plan, Keller Williams and real estate is for you. You would crush it. I've got you. I'll get you to the level that I'm at quickly. I'll mentor you. I'll do whatever it takes for you to be successful. And, you know, Mike Brody always says, and Mike Brody's an owner and operator of many market centers and a guy I look up to in Keller Williams. He always says, if you'll keep your head down, consistently doing what you're supposed to do, eventually you'll get the tap on the shoulder. Well, Dennis got the tap on the shoulder from me in about 2012 as I was going through a defining moment in my life, to where it was time for the band to take a step back. I met the girl of my dreams. I wanted to ask her to marry me. I wanted to have kids. I couldn't go live in a bus and an airplane traveling the world. You know, we played in Australia multiple times. We played in Brazil multiple times, Indonesia, the Philippines. I couldn't grow a family in this lifestyle. So I tapped Dennis on Tuttle on the shoulder and said, hey man, I'm ready for that opportunity you mentioned to me in 08, 09, 2010, 2011. Is that still an opportunity? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I've got to come, and I think there's a lot of people on this call that would say the same thing. I'm thinking I've got to come interview in corporate America for a job at Keller Williams. I didn't know what I was tapping him on the shoulder for. So that's my history and my background. And then in 2013, in about 4 weeks, I went and got my real estate license and started with Keller Williams in November 1st, 2013. 2014, I just heard Dennis always talk about how he was the regional rookie of the year and runner-up international rookie of the year. And that's all I knew that I wanted. I didn't have too much of a care for anything materialistic. I just was in a situation where I needed a transition and I needed to pour a foundation quickly. And you can go Google it. It's public record now, but I was being sued for some watches that I brought back from our Filipino tour. I brought back some Rolexes to America and was selling them on Craigslist. And ultimately I got arrested at gunpoint in Grand Prairie at a Starbucks under a FBI sting. Oh my God. And a month later, I was hit with a $23 million lawsuit by Rolex. And so that was the defining moment. I've since settled all that, and you know, they thought that I was someone that I wasn't. And so I've since settled all that. But as I was going through my transition, that's what was driving me. That was my big why. I've got to get out of this lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yes. I've got to find a new career that no longer has me in the spotlight as an influencer or celebrity, because Rolex was making an example out of me for something that I did wrong.
Right.
And so that was my only real motivation my first year, is I want to help as many people as I can, because I know if I help them get what they want, it'll help me get what I need in this valley in my life. So I was at ground zero. And I just started from the ground up. I mean, I was potentially going to lose everything. And, you know, all I ever knew was traveling in a bus and an airplane and every night screaming fans and autograph signings and radio shows. And that's all I knew. And so
that's kind of what your listening appointments are like now, right, John?
That's exactly. Yeah.
I need your autograph here and here.
Yeah. So there's, the listing appointments, there's still autographs and screaming.
Yes.
But it's not screaming fans and autographs because they love me. No, that's just kidding. That's not good. So fast forward a little bit from that, that whole situation was basically what people talk about as their valley or their defining moment.
Right.
And I had an opportunity to say, you know, how am I going to react to this? So I always live by the quote that it's not how you fall, it's how you get up. And so I love the fact that, and here's the piece, I got up quickly. I didn't quite get International Rookie of the Year for a whole company, but I did attain Regional Rookie of the Year. And I found out when I went to Mega Camp that year to the awards banquet that, you know, another agent in Simi Valley sold 14 units and beat me for International Rookie of the Year when I sold 66 units. So, you know, average price point came into play there, and I'm not in no way, I'm super happy for him. It was just a shock to me, like, wow, I sold 5 times units and he beat me in volume and all those pieces. So International Rookie of the Year was a goal that I almost hit, but you know, Regional Rookie of the Year is great for 2014. And then I had a goal for 2015 to double my production. So I sold, I think, 277,000 in GCI my first year, 66 homes. And then year two, $605,000 GCI and 105 homes. So I over doubled it year two. So
Wow.
there's a lot of focus on my year one. Wow, he got regional rookie of the year. But my focus and my biggest victory is year two, over doubling my year one production, which my goal was to double it in year two.
That's incredible.
At that point, well, thank you very much.
So, Jonathan, that's a huge accomplishment. And, you know, I would venture probably to say by you not getting International Rookie of the Year, that probably lit a fire under your belly to do even more the next year. And so, my question for you is, how did you, a lot of people say, well, 66 homes is a lot, 105 homes is a lot. How did you double your business your second year in the real estate world? What did you do to spur that? What activity did you do to do that?
Well, first of all, to God be the glory for all of this. The faith piece is the number one most important piece of all this. And so consistency in tithing, consistency in the church attendance, being in fellowship with my church twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, leading worship at my church. These different pieces of having a consistent mindset for a 12-month period garnered with the leverage piece of adding the who to my team. I said, okay, I've got to get help. So I added my sister as my transaction coordinator because she was my best friend. She's someone I trusted. I didn't know the career visioning or the recruit select process that Gary Keller taught. I just knew I needed someone and I needed someone quick. And I knew she was great behind the scenes.
Okay.
So year two basically was adding that transaction coordinator. Well, actually year one. Actually, it was about mid-year on my rookie year that I said, dang, I'm at like 30 homes. I can't do this by myself. And,
right.
And Ashley, and this is funny. You're going to like this, Seychelle. And here's the piece. Ashley lives in North Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
So she not a single one of our clients knows that. So she commits to excellence.
Kristen on our team is in Oklahoma City.
How cool is that? So for people listening, Seychelle has someone in Oklahoma City who's an empire builder, and I have someone in North Hollywood who's an empire builder. But with the power of dot loop and e-edge and everything being electronic, it's, with the exception of a few clients that like to hand sign, Ashley handles a huge portion of the day-to-day business from another state.
So is she still working with you in Hollywood?
I love that. That's a great question. So she's my number 2. She's my right-hand girl. What's funny is now that we've just hit our 4-year anniversary, I've seen the professionalism in her grow too. And there's so many people that would say, oh, that TC position, that transaction coordination position is such a peon position. Well, as a matter of fact, it's the most important position on my team.
I agree.
And so I always give credit where credit's due. I'm constantly pointing back to Ashley in a lot of these reviews. I make sure that any reviews that our team asks for, that they mention Ashley in the process as well. And here's the other thing, that transaction coordination, Seychelle and I talked about 2 months ago. She came and did a mastermind at our office, and she blew the mind's room, guys that are on this call, with the amount that she pays her transaction coordinator. And that was my biggest aha that day, because I pay my transaction coordinator 6 figures. And a lot of people on this call would say, how on earth do you justify paying a transaction coordinator 6 figures? Well, I have a 6-figure transaction coordinator. That's how. She's worth it. And so we can Google all day long or ask other market centers, what should you pay a transaction coordinator? And they're going to tell you 35 to 55,000 or, something along those lines. Well, here's the piece. 35 to 55,000 is not a bad salary at all. But I need someone to do way more than your average transaction coordinator. I need someone to run the ship, to validate for me, to step up to the plate when a client's saying, y'all are dropping the ball, and she will vouch for me like no one else will.
Jonathan, would you say that she is almost not just your transaction coordinator, but almost like your director of ops too?
Yeah, so I would. I think that until I get a specific director of ops.
Right.
So let's go ahead and get into my org chart so a lot of this makes sense.
Great.
So I have Tina Amison, who is basically my executive assistant.
Okay.
So Tina's role is to run Blue Swirl Property Management, which is just my personal properties, and that's the wealth building piece. So
Okay.
I own and operate 23 properties, commercial and residential, and Tina runs that property management company for me. Tina also is my listings manager, so inputting all the listings. After I get the folder signed at the listing appointment, I text a picture of that to Tina.
Okay.
She inputs the listing agreement. She
Okay.
sends it to the client. She schedules professional photography and then goes live with it. She schedules our courier, Elaine Watts, who's fantastic. We have a designated courier every day of the week. She puts our signs and lock boxes up. She delivers checks. She picks up lock boxes and signs, and Tina schedules Elaine. So Elaine directly reports to Tina. Tina and Ashley, my sister, are my only admin.
Okay.
And so Ashley basically runs once a buyer goes under contract, contract to close. Once a seller goes under contract, contract to close. Anything that has to do with drama of complaints from clients, or they feel like they're being short, they're not getting the service they need, Ashley will step in and handle those complaints and be the point of contact, unless I need to get involved.
And
negotiating repairs
Tina,
as well.
Jonathan, I'm going to put this up on the screen as we're talking here. So does
Sure.
Tina report to Ashley, or does she separately report to you?
Tina separately reports to me, and
Okay,
Ashley separately reports to me.
Okay. Got
And
it.
we're doing a team meeting in person twice a week.
Okay.
This is huge. This is probably the greatest piece of value that I have to bring today to people that are on the call. If you are a team owner in Keller Williams, meaning you operate with at least 2 other people that runs your team and your business, it is dire important that you are meeting with them twice a week for an hour, undivided. Cell phones aren't allowed, face down, no calls can be taken. I don't care what leads come in that period. I don't care what you have to do. 11 to noon on Friday is when we do our power up huddle, and 7:45 to 8:45 on Tuesday mornings is when we do our mastermind around the week. And so here's what we're going over in those meetings. On Tuesdays, the reason we didn't choose Monday is, I think if I asked people to raise their hand on the call, how many people's wheels are shot off first thing Monday morning?
Absolutely.
Can you imagine if I asked my team to turn their phones off Monday morning for an hour?
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't do it. So get your act together Monday. That way, Tuesday morning when we show up at work, you've at least got fires put out enough to where from 7:45 to 8:45 we can have our phones off for an hour.
Okay.
In that meeting, we are talking about, what's going on, what's working, what's not, dry erase board. And the very first question out of my mouth as the leader is, what's one victory you're celebrating this week?
Okay.
We write victories on the board. Everybody's name's up there, and everybody has to share one victory. And what's challenging about that is sometimes they'll share a victory in a backhanded, it's negative, but they have to turn it into a victory, like a deal fizzled. Okay, we'll turn that into a victory. What's victorious about that? But I know that more is coming, and I know that the Lord will replace it with 3 other,
Right.
Turn it into some sort of a victory. So it's just a mindset, a renewing of our mind on Tuesday morning. Then we get into about 45 minutes of what do we need to talk about? What's working, what's not? How are the leads doing? How's Boomtown working? How's Zillow and Trulia working? Realtor.com, all those pieces. And then Friday meetings is more of a reporting of the numbers. How many reviews did you ask for this week? How many reviews did you receive? How many contracts did you write? How many contracts were accepted? How much GCI have you made this week? Now, this is a great one, Seychelle, because it's very victorious whenever someone says, I made $9,000 this week. We all clap. And it's quite burning whenever you have to say, I made $0, and so that's the piece that's motivating.
Yeah.
You want to be able to report on Friday, hey, I made $2,000 this week, and everybody clap for it. You know what I mean? So
that's not something we're doing. That's great. So I'm typing this out as we're talking, Jonathan, so that people can see it up on the screen. And we are recording this, you guys, so you'll be able to go back and review it. But I want to make sure I'm hitting on this. So on Tuesday on your weekly review, it's what's one victory you're celebrating this week, what's working, what's not working, how many did reviews you get, and how much GCI did you make this week? Is there anything else that I can touch on that we want to make sure we hit?
So number of appointments gone on, number of contacts made, and this is brand new, but we're allowing the views on your Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and Snapchat Live videos to count. So if you do a Snapchat Live video that has a real estate theme behind it, and that video gets 250 views, you've just made 250 connects by our team's category,
Okay.
by our team standards. And so there's people reporting 20 connects, and then there's people reporting 380 that reported 20 last week. Well, if you reported 20 last week and you report 280, we're going to pause the meeting and say, what'd you do differently this week, and celebrate that.
Okay.
So there's people just now picking up on, well, now I'm doing Snapchat Live or Twitter Live or Instagram Live, and I'm talking to a lot more people than I've ever been able to.
Got it. Okay. So video counts for you guys as long as there's a contact review, number of connects, and then do you also count number of dials?
So we're not a dial heavy team.
Okay.
We are more of an incoming lead. We have a lot of incoming leads to the team, and then we have each individual team member in sales has their own specific niche. Like one of my team members goes to Lowe's and Home Depot 3 times a week, passes out 20 cards, says, hey, I see you're in Lowe's Home Improvement Center. What's the home you're trying to improve and why? So that's a script we've created on our team. And if you hand out 20 cards at Lowe's a week, it's very rare that you won't have a deal a week come from your 5 trips to Lowe's with 20 people. So it's 100 connects at Lowe's or Home Depot in a week, and it usually leads to 3 deals a week, 3 new leads into the database.
Wow, that's awesome.
But that's just one person on the team doing that. No one else does it. And then we have another person on the team that loves to door knock, another person on the team that loves networking at events like Chamber of Commerce, anything along the lines of city council meetings, just loves to be that face in the community. And then we have another one that just farms the heck out of one specific area of the area that we specialize in with postcards. And he nails it.
And are you funding this? Do they fund their one thing themselves? How does that work?
Wow, great question. So here's the opportunity. And I want to shout out real quick to Gillian, James. I want to add them to the org chart.
Great.
Because I got on a rabbit trail. So
you're good. I was going to circle you back on it. Okay, go for it.
So our buyer specialist, we have Gillian Crawford.
How do you spell Gillian?
James Irwin. Gillian is Gillian.
Okay, perfect. James, got it.
We have James Irwin. Gillian Crawford is actually moving into Director of Technology on our team.
Okay.
And so we're running our team a little bit like a micro market center.
Okay.
We have a Director of Technology and Onboarding, which the Director of Onboarding is James Irwin.
Okay.
So he's like the mentor along with my mom, Julie, in the first 100 days. So Julie is another buyer specialist.
Okay.
Scott Cloud is another buyer specialist.
Okay.
Jordan Ketcher is another buyer specialist.
Okay.
And Hector Flores is another buyer specialist.
Okay. Got it.
So the 2 that are on the team that can also list right now are my mom, Julie, and Scott Cloud.
Okay.
So I'm the lead listing specialist. I'm still in production. 4 years into this, I'm still in production. However, my focus has merged into these 2 weekly team meetings, bringing major value and accountability to those, and then being available for large opportunities that come to our team kind of as the driver of the team. Okay. And always casting and renewing and checking our vision. And then my biggest day to day is the money that we're spending working. So playing red light, green light.
Okay. And how often are you looking at that?
3 times a week. So we're playing red light, green light quite a bit. And it's just because we spend we spend 6 figures a year in internet leads.
Got it.
And so, if we're spending 5 figures a month in internet leads, I've got to make sure that money is doing what it's supposed to. And some weeks I watch it 5 times, and some weeks I watch it once.
Right.
But at least every Friday I'm watching that money and moving it as needed and turning things off and back on.
So Jonathan, since you mentioned internet leads, I'm going to pull you into that for just a second, which is, what do you think are some of the important things around purchasing internet leads that are important? Is it the source? Is it the follow-up? Is it the system? Talk to me about what kind of model you found that's working for you guys that's allowing you to spend $100,000 and make it make sense in your business.
Okay, so here's the piece. I didn't think I was going to touch on this, but I think it's important because there's people on this call because they want value, so I'm going to bring value.
Exactly.
There's no Zillow or Trulia or Redfin brokerage. Well, I can't speak to Redfin. There's no Zillow group brokerage coming in 2018. I received another phone call today asking me about that. So you don't have to worry about Zillow or Trulia, anyone in Zillow group wanting to form a brokerage. That has never been mentioned, not one time at their company meetings. As a matter of fact, the opposite is true. They want to be the highest level of real estate information on the internet and be the best commerce site to go find that. Trulia has a little different product with the temperature gauge of crime on their website, and then Zillow has a little bit different gauge of that on schools and school ratings, and they pull data from greatschools.org. And so Zillow and Trulia are two different styles of real estate information sites, but they're owned by the same company and they do great things for different people. So I'll preface it with that, first of all.
Okay.
Secondly, I would say if you're only going to dip your toes in the sand, and I mean, I'm only going to spend $150, $200 a month on internet leads and hope it works, don't bother.
Okay.
Internet leads is not something you can dip your toes in and spend $150 to $200 a month and think it's going to have an ROI. It's not.
Okay.
If it does, you've gotten very lucky.
And it's not sustainable. So with internet leads,
sustainable.
If you are purchasing those, what sort of a rate of return are you looking at as far as a percentage goes? Like what percentage out of 100 leads that you get in, how many of those do you actually expect to convert?
Okay, let's get into this. So conversion rate on internet leads is average at 4%. If you're converting 5 to 6, meaning you get 100 incoming leads to your team a month, if you're converting 4 of those, you're average.
Okay.
If you're converting 5 to 6, you're above average, and anything above 6 is just you're knocking it out of the park. Now, everybody's profiles on Realtor.com, whatever, Trulia, Movado, Redfin, Homes.com, anything that you do, your profile matters. So you've got to be committing to getting the sexiest headshot possible. Black versus white background matters. You want to know which one's better?
Okay. What's better?
White background.
White?
White background trends far better, about 2 to 1 better than a black background headshot.
Okay.
So your two options on successful headshots are gray or white.
Okay.
If you have a black background on your headshot, I would say get a new background as an action step for 2018 with a white or gray background.
Okay.
The second piece that matters on there is recommendations, reviews, whatever the platform calls it. But you have to be committing to asking your clients every time you wow them for a recommendation or a review. And what do I mean by every time you wow them? Well, you just got their offer accepted when they were up against 17 other offers. You don't wait till closing on that deal to ask for a review. You get a review that day when you wow them. And you tell them, here's how you get a review. It takes 2 minutes. You got to do this. You got to do that. Walk them through it just like you would a real estate transaction. They don't know how to write a review on homes.com. They've never done it before. So just saying, go leave me a review, write me a recommendation isn't going to work. You've got to tell them how to do it, and you've got to be a follow-up boss on that piece. Hey, remember I asked you to write me a review. Did you do it?
Okay. Got it. And then what else is important on this? And then I have a follow-up question for you on leads.
Okay, so what's important on this? It's committing an amount of money that you've led with revenue. Here's what I mean by that. For those of you on the call, you have to have the money that you're willing to say, if this turns into only a break-even ROI, I'm okay with that, and I'm financially okay with that, and my family financially is okay with that. So hear me. This is most important when I'm going to get into this piece about spending money to make money. You have to have the money to spend. And it doesn't mean, oh, my tax account over here where I've taken 30% from my GCI to save for taxes, I'm going to reinvest some of that before taxes are due. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying you had a fantastic quarter. You've got a surplus of cash in the bank. You're shift proof. Your car's paid off. Your wife's car's paid off. Your husband's car's paid off. You're in a comfortable living position. And you still have above and beyond money at the end of the month to bless others. So you bless others. And then you still have money left over to reinvest in your business. Now you start taking action on this piece. If you're not in that position, I can't endorse you spending any money on internet leads.
Got it.
So now let's get into it. What do I expect on ROI? Here's the piece.
Okay.
If it's not making 4 to 1 ROI, I get rid of it. and what I'm making on Zillow and Trulia is 10 to 1 on average the last 3 years. So if I spend $100,000, I can expect it's going to make $1 million in gross commission return on average. Now, I'll tell you this, the fourth quarter of this year has been more like 6 to 1, and I'm okay with that. I'm watching it heavily because that's a 40% drop. However, 6 to 1, if I told you there's a machine in Vegas, you can take a $1,000 bill and it'll print you out a $6,000 bill, you'd be on American Airlines first class headed there in the morning.
That's right.
And you'd want to put in a $10,000 bill to get a $60,000 bill back. Exactly.
So I have a second question for you, Jonathan, and anything else on internet leads we need to make sure we hit on? And then I
could spend all day on it. So
okay,
let's move on.
Cool. All right, we'll move on. So my second question for you is Dan Harker had a great question, which is, what percentage of your leads come from what sources right now, or what percentage of your closed deals come from?
And let me just say this before we move on. If anybody has any questions, Facebook me, Jonathan Cook, Dallas Baptist University. You can direct message me. That's the best way to get these deeper questions answered. I'm just going macro level here today.
Yeah, you're doing awesome.
A full day on this.
Yep, you're awesome. So if anybody wants to follow up, let us know, and we'll make sure you guys are connected with Jonathan for those questions. So tell me what percentage of where your leads come from for your business.
All right, so it shifts every year, right? So year 4, finally I'm getting that. You sold my house 2 years ago. We want you to help us buy another one and sell this one.
Okay.
So that really didn't happen year 1 at all.
Right.
That was about 4 to 5% of my business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it was, we got relocated and you sold it to us 2 months ago, which was pretty rare. But year 2, that became referrals, repeat business became about 15% of the business.
Okay.
Year 3, it increased to about 20. And year 4, finally, that's about 30 to 40% of the business, with internet leads being about 60% of the business. I only really focus on 2 lead sources. It's farming the heck out of being I call it the internet mayor of my area.
Okay.
I would never run for mayor. Well, never say never. Many people have pressured me and said, you need to be the next mayor of our community, Burleson, Texas. I don't think I would ever do that. It's not my desire to do that.
Mm-hmm.
However, I want to be the internet mayor. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to be the one with the most amount of accurate information about the future of our community as possible. And so that's where a lot of my source comes from. Just networking, being that guy, constantly being, a value to our community and a joy to work with whenever people choose to work with us. So that's probably 40% of business, with internet leads being another 60%. And by internet leads, I also mean market leader, e-edge that Keller Williams provides, and working that. I don't do any expireds at all. I'm not a Vulcan 7 Mojo dialer. That's not my business source. And we work a little bit for sell by owners. But the majority of our business is just the come list me's from people in town, seeing, I call it guerrilla marketing, and I didn't come up with that term, but just seeing my signs everywhere.
Right. So, I think what's interesting is when, we've been doing these awesome calls for a year now, the majority of people we talk to really have 1 to 2 main lead sources and maybe a trailing third. But you're definitely not uncommon with what we're seeing is you're really focusing in on 1 to 2 main lead sources. And then if the rest of it comes in, fantastic, but your focus is really in 1 to 2 areas, and don't worry about the rest. So, and that's really what you're seeing here. You're seeing it in your internet leads, and then as you convert those internet leads into past clients, wowing them with their experience so they want to use you again or refer you. Does that sound correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a great book about wowing them, delivering dazzling customer service. It's called Driving Loyalty. If you guys are readers out there, Driving Loyalty is a great book to read. It's about how Enterprise Rent-A-Car has held to the highest level of customer service and then slowly acquired Alamo and Nationwide silently. And it's all about how you have clients for life. We talk about being somebody's realtor for life, but this book really dives deep into value on that piece. If you want to learn how to have clients for life, Driving Loyalty is a great book for that.
Cool. That's awesome. And then another question I have for you too is, who holds you accountable?
So this is great, and Absolutely, accountability is the number one piece of my business that I'm focused on to go to the next step. So when I have a major goal, I mean, a macro level, our team's going to 285 units and 48 million next year. Dennis Tuttle is the guy that I share that goal with. I'm blessed that he happens to be one of the top team leaders in our whole organization and my lifelong best friend. So, not everybody can have the team leader as their accountability partner. So let me just, disclaim it just a little bit. It's not because he's team leader, he's my accountability partner. It's because we're best friends. We're each other's accountability partners. He just happens to have an awesome title and an awesome position in our company as a leader. So I also stand in front of my team Tuesday and Friday of every week and say, here's our goal, here's my goal, hold me accountable to that. And we just have this environment, this culture in our office of, hey, Jonathan, why did you show up 10 minutes past when you said you would today? I'm held accountable by my buyer specialist on my team. They want that drive, and if they see my flame going out at all, they're bringing kerosene and a match to my office, and they're relighting that flame for me.
and I think that's awesome because, building a culture around vulnerability and around transparency and around accountability breeds that even more in your organization. And I think it starts at the top. And so I love hearing from you that by being vulnerable and transparent and being willing to be held accountable, not only by your friends and your colleagues and your mentors in the office, but also by your team, you're setting that up as an expectation that anybody that comes onto the team is going to have that same attitude. I think that's awesome. So I'm going to shift.
Well, and that's the piece. You hired.
Yep.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Jonathan.
Well, and I was just going to say that's the piece. You hired a culture first, and then you hire to talent second, and you'll have people and a culture around you that won't let you be a failure, and they won't allow you to slack off because they know your potential, and they joined your team because they believe in your vision and your potential.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're exactly right. And like-minded people attract like-minded people. So if you're starting with that, the rest is going to go. So then, Dan Harker wanted me to follow up on one question with you real quick on your internet leads, which is a great one. He said, on the dollar invested in getting a 10x return on your internet leads, did you see that if you were able to increase your skill set, if that gave you a better return? Or can you pretty much be not great at internet leads and find that return? Is there something special that helped you increase that percentage or not really?
Wow. I don't know how I left this out. So thank you, Dan, for bringing that up. And the Harkers, I can't believe they're on this call. What an honor.
I know, right?
So, wow, I can't believe I left this out. So, and you asked the question, I just stepped over it. So if you're going to commit to internet leads, you have got to be an absolute, what's the word here? You've got to be so trained on this that you beat everybody else doing internet leads. And I don't have a great word for it, but you've got to commit 100%. So I'm at every Zillow conference. They flew me out to Newport Beach this year with the top 0.5% of Zillow agents in the country. So there was only 200 of us in the room. Represents 0.5% of Zillow agents. Mm-hmm. We were all masterminding there. We all got to see the new products coming out. Zillow only has 2 markets right now where they're doing the instant offers right now.
Right.
And so they just rolled out Phoenix, which is their second market for instant offers, where they'll make you an offer right on the spot to buy it. If Zillow doesn't buy it by these 5 large backing companies that they have, they will then send the listing lead to an agent in the area. So that's coming. I go to every, Zillow has a premier agent conference in Vegas every year. I've been the last 4 years. Zillow has a summit in Dallas every year. I've been the last 3 years. So I attend everything that the Zillow group does, and I commit to Zillow and Trulia. I know that there's people on this call that probably just hung up. Yeah, I just heard one.
No, you're good.
So I get it that I'm bass backwards on that piece.
No.
My listings, my leads. However, this works for me, and I hope that people hear my honesty in this. I don't want you to go jump off the cliff for internet leads today just because of what I'm saying and you think it'll work. I've committed heavily to study how it works, study the metrics, make my profile stronger, write a professional biography about myself on the profile that's worth reading and updated every year. It doesn't talk about what I did in 2013. It's updated to 2017. We commit to reviews and recommendations. We have 264 reviews alone 4.9 out of 5-star on Zillow, and then another amount on Yelp and Google and Facebook. So if you're not out there getting reviews, internet leads aren't really going to work. But what we're committing to is just being review heavy. So online shoppers that are very smart nowadays, like Amazon, like the Uber, like the Airbnb,
Right.
they're not going to buy an Airbnb without reading the reviews.
Exactly.
So people aren't going to say, Jonathan Cook, come list me without reading my review. So that's where that goes.
Okay, that helps. Yep, that's exactly right. So to me, what it says is it's not necessarily about the source. It's that you have bought in fully on it. You are committed, and you are 100% bought in on the source that you're going for. Honestly, it doesn't matter. You and I both know it doesn't matter whether that was open houses, whether that was door knocking, whether that is Zillow, whether that is past clients, whether that is relocation. It doesn't matter what it is. It's you.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
On that piece. Since you just brought up door knocking, there was a great YouTube video of a lady out of state who is door knocking and holding 3 open houses a week and door knocking 300 doors. And she's going to close over $2 million this year.
Wow.
That is something that could have distracted me. That's a very sexy story with great numbers behind it.
Yep.
However, once you've made the decision ahead of time, and hear me say this, made the decision ahead of time, already know I'm going to mega camp and I'm not going to have my pocketbook with me or my wallet open. You have to make the decision ahead of time on how you're going to, what your one thing is. So whenever these emails come out or a YouTube video comes out and somebody's doing something amazing over here that's not your one thing, you've already made the decision, hey, great for them. That's not my one thing.
That's exactly right. So in talking about committing to your budget and making decisions ahead of time, you also have something else that you're really committed to. And I hear this really kind of as an underlying theme as we've been talking today, which is wealth building. And that's something I know that you are really passionate about. So I'm going to shift gears for a second, and I want to talk about that a little bit with you because I feel like we've got a rare opportunity to dive into that with you. So talk to me about your 23 properties. Talk to me about your passion behind wealth building and what you're actively doing on a daily basis to move forwards.
So since we're almost out of time, I can't share everything that I would love to share on this. However, I will say there is a way that if you're a real estate professional, the corporate tax benefits to that should not be ignored. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the only people that can benefit this in the United States of America are real estate professionals who operate 50 hours or more per week in real estate. I wish I had an hour to talk about this. Maybe Gary Keller will ask me to speak on stage someday and I'll talk all about it. There's very few people doing this, and you're missing 5 to 6 figure tax benefits every single year by not paying attention to this piece. So I'll leave it with that. Cool. Just go Google it or go ask your CPA on that. That is why I've been able to buy so many properties in 4 years. I had ownership in 1 property 4 years ago when I started this. I now have ownership in 24, and it's because I've tripled down on the tax benefits of being a real estate professional in the United States of America.
I love that. Now you're also doing something else too, which is you are actively growing your downline with KW. Talk to me about that.
Well, I didn't even realize this, but I've just gotten really focused as the growth committee chairman this year, and I've added 10 people to my first level downline this year thus far, and I'm not done yet, a goal of 15, and I've only got 1 month to acquire 5 more people in my first position downline. So if there's any other agencies that are on this call, I would love to invite you to career night at Keller Williams this month. I'm just kidding. This is only for Keller Williams. So I'm just kidding.
You're like, I'm kind of not kidding. I need to hit my goal. I appreciate that. Now we're all going to check in with you in less than 30 days and ask you if you met your goal.
Oh, great. So shout out to Revolution Real Estate and at Keller Williams and the James Like. James Like is the broker owner of Revolution Real Estate, which was a smaller boutique brokerage in our community that through building a relationship, showing the value, and never giving up to him as a friend first, he has just moved his entire brokerage back over, because he was with Keller Williams 6 or 7 years ago, back over to Keller Williams and brought 9 agents with him.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
My challenge to you guys is this right here. And here's probably the greatest piece of value that I will give all day today. Every single agent in every single state in our country today, right now, is considering a change of broker. No one is untouchable. No one is too high on the totem pole to not be worth your time to show them the value of what our amazing company has to offer them. So go after it with that mindset, and there's not a single agent you can't recruit.
That's awesome. So we have 9 minutes left on our call, Jonathan, and there's something we haven't touched on today that I know you are very passionate about, and that is being a great husband and also being a very present dad. How are you balancing and prioritizing your family in addition to being in year 4 of growing your business?
Well, it's because of the glass ball analogy. We're always juggling rubber and glass balls. And I think this comes from the one thing. Gary Keller's book, I think, is where this was. And if it's not, pardon me for the
It is, yep. Go ahead.
reference. Okay. So I'm a visual learner.
Give that analogy. So the analogy is that we're constantly juggling balls, and that most of them are rubber and one of them is glass. And when you're juggling the balls, the work ball is rubber, but the family ball and the marriage ball is glass. And if you drop that one, it's much harder to piece it back together and it never goes back the same. But if you drop the work one, you can bounce it back up, right?
Okay. I have 3 glass balls. My faith is one of my glass balls too. My family is one of my glass balls. And then now my team is one of my glass balls.
Okay.
So if I drop my team, I've seen this. I've neglected it and said, okay, fantastic. I have a great team. I'm going to go over here for a little while. Come back, team's gone. So I now consider my team one of my glass balls. Absolutely my faith. If I drop my faith for even a month, you better believe that I'm not sowing seeds into fertile soil anymore. I won't be reaping the harvest at the level that God has provided me thus far. And I never want to go back to a level that only I can achieve on my own. This level that I'm going to is all with the help of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
That's awesome. And how do you do that on a weekly basis? So it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to actually put that into practice. So how do you actually practice that?
Well, I work 6 days a week, and so the Chick-fil-A model, the reason that you can analyze any Chick-fil-A franchise versus a McDonald's franchise and see that Chick-fil-A is more profitable than the McDonald's franchise that works 7 days a week when Chick-fil-A works 6 is something that really stuck out in my mind as I started reading this book. And so, and analyzing the Chick-fil-A model, so the Chick-fil-A model is 6 days a week. So I work 6 days a week, and people think that is Sunday off. Well, it's actually half of Sunday off for me, and no judgment zone here, because mine is half Sunday off and half Monday off. So I do not work in the business Monday from 8 to 1 p.m. I will work 4 hours in the business on Monday, but Monday's my day off for $5 an hour jobs, like going to the bank, like washing my car, picking up clothes from the cleaners. I don't do that all the time, but there's $5 an hour stuff that has to be done during the work week that I don't want to feel judgment for doing that. So I would just scatter those $5 an hour jobs all through the week, and I'd feel judgment every time I left my business or my clients. So now I've set that time aside, and I said Monday's my day to just go, not even dress up. On Monday, I'll wear shorts and flip-flops and a golf shirt, and I go around town doing Jonathan Cook things that need to be done for my family and my personal life. Monday afternoon, 1 o'clock, I go shower, I dress professional, head to the office, get 3 or 4 hours worth of work, then I come home to my family. Tuesday through Friday, boy, it's hammer, it's fifth gear. Saturday, Sunday, those are my family days, and then church on Sunday. So I just became okay with taking Mondays off this year, and it's really proven to be awesome for me. And it's really helped me to balance out family, being a worship leader at church, being a team owner, and then being a mentor to a lot of other agents. And that's what I love most, is giving back to agents that reach out to me and say, Jonathan, would you mentor me? Would you help me with this? Would you teach a class on this? Would you speak to me on this issue? So I also am now balancing teaching and mentoring as well. And I got that from Mo Anderson in her book, 7 or 9 Pillars of a Joy-Filled Life.
That's right.
Not as who your mentor is, but who's your mentees. And so that really challenged me to go get a bunch of mentees. So
It's she never shy on giving really big challenges, is she? She's awesome.
Golly, I love Mo.
She's great. So you have poured
Oh,
a
looks
lot
like
of
Mo just
wisdom
joined
into
the call. Hey, Mo. I'm just
Good
totally
thing for
kidding.
you, I'm taking notes. She can see you even referenced her. She's just incredible. So, what haven't I asked you that I need to make sure I'm asking you in our last couple minutes on the call here today?
What's the ultimate goal? Where are you headed?
Where are you going?
And what are your numbers for this year?
Let's hear it.
So, no, you did ask me to have that prepared, and we just didn't get to it. So, this will be my first year to be a millionaire real estate agent. So this is a really cool milestone for me. It took me 4 years. I thought I could do it in 3, and just through retooling and building a team and slowing down to speed up, year 3 was kind of sloppy. Well, every year has been sloppy. Who am I kidding? But what you find is you see all these breakout sessions at Family Reunion Mega Camp, and you find that, everyone talks about building a team, and you think team is for everyone, and then you go build it and you realize how hard it really is.
Yeah.
And so year 3 was me figuring out how hard building a team really is.
Mm-hmm.
And year 4 was, okay, I'm taking what I learned in year 3 to build a team and go build a real team in year 4. And that's what's allowed us to be a millionaire real estate agent this year. So this year is 166 units thus far, 960,000 in GCI, and we've got enough pending in December yeah, we're gonna make it. That's what I was looking for.
That's fantastic. And what is the ultimate goal? Where are you ultimately heading?
So the ultimate goal is we have a units goal here, because that's really all we can control. We can't control if someone calls us on a $100,000 house or $1 million home.
That's right.
So 1,000 units by 2024, which is sorry, 1,000 units by 2024, which will be our 10-year anniversary of the team. We want to close 1,000 units in 2024. And so just taking those stepping stones, and thanks to Lance Loken for teaching me how to do this, taking those stepping stones backwards and say, next year's not going to be the 1,000 year. But
right.
Next year has to be a step in the right direction towards 1,000 unit year in the future. So we built out 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24 goals. And as we go together. As we grow together. And the most important part about all that is the who. So I constantly have to be looking for talent that adds synergetic relationships to our team onward towards the goal of 1,000 units in 2024.
Bless you. I love that. So 1,000 units in 2024, and it's all about having the right people with you to join in that process.
That's it. The who,
That's awesome.
number one.
Jonathan, this is amazing. You have poured so much wisdom and so many ahas into this. I did take notes for all of you that are on the call, so I will send those out to Christy. And Jonathan, I'll make sure you're on it too, so you've got the notes as well. And if we were going to reach out and had a follow-up question for you to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you?
817-900-COOK, my last name. You can't remember 900 Cook. It's worth memorizing. So 817-900-COOK.
Okay. What's the best email?
That'll ring me anytime. Best email address is lookwithcook@kw.com. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to give you my personal email and my personal cell phone number.
Okay.
I should have done that to start with.
That's okay. I'm ready.
My personal phone number is 817-946-0336. My personal email is jcook817@me.com.
All right.
The absolute best way to get me is Facebook Messenger. So look me up on Facebook. I'd love to connect with you guys, and I just cannot thank you enough, Seychelle, for this opportunity.
Well, we really appreciate you, and this has been amazing today, and we'll make sure we send out the notes. And Jonathan, thank you for your time. We know it's valuable, and we wish you a very happy holiday season. Merry Christmas.
All right. Stay awesome.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.